Savvy Central Radio, drawing out the best from our guests with your host, Christina Nitchman.
Join our mailing list today by texting Savvy Radio to find out about upcoming guests and events and receive a free gift, how podcasting can help increase sales and influence in your business. This is your host, Christina Nitchman. Each week, Savvy runs weekly broadcasts providing entrepreneurs and successful individuals a platform to express their dreams, hopes, lessons learned, expertise, and wisdom with the world. Our guest today is Rick Goodfriend. Rick has been teaching communication skills for business owners and individuals for over a decade. Not only does he teach these skills, he uses them on a daily basis in his work and in his personal life. Rick shares the importance of nonviolent communication and how harnessing these communication skills can transform any difficult situation. Today we'll discuss how you can build instant rapport and connect with anyone you meet. Find out more about Rick at rickgoodfriend.com or empathyday.com. Hi, Rick. Welcome to Savvy Central Radio. How are you today?
Oh, just fantastic, really.
Yes, I know before our interview you've been on better days, but I'm sure it'll look up soon. But I'm so glad that you've taken the time to join us today because you talk about something that's important to all business owners, and that's working to help people better communicate. How did you get to working in the line of communication and helping people with being better communicators?
Well, I had no relationships. I had nothing, zilch. My girlfriend left me because I was trying to fix her. And it was really horrible because she told me, I don't know how to listen. And I said, what? And she goes, you just don't listen to me, because she was talking about finances, and I told her, I know what you need to do. You should call this guy or that guy. And she just says, gosh, you don't know how to listen. I'm done with you. I'm finished. And then this guy, Marshall Rosenberg, was coming to town. He does nonviolent communication. And he's been, every 6 months he was coming here. And finally I said, maybe I should go see this guy. And I walked in. And there's 400 people in the workshop, and they're all yelling at each other. I said, geez, what's the world coming to? But I stuck with it, and I learned the skills, and it's been the best thing in my life I've ever done.
That's interesting, Rick, because I think often I hear about people in relationships with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and often they say, well, they're not listening. And I think it's both sides. I think sometimes women think because they talk more that they're better communicators, and that's not necessarily the truth. What makes someone a good communicator or as opposed to not such a good communicator?
I think the secret to communicating, and I have a little slogan, the more you listen, the more you're going to be heard. The more you listen to the other person, they're going to want to hear you. They want to hear what you're going to say after they've been listened to. So that's the whole secret, is to really, even in sales, if you're going to listen to somebody first, eventually they're going to say, how about you? What's going on with you? Then they're ready to listen to you. Either way, it's going to be a fight for who's going to be listened to the most, and that becomes a little fight, a little skirmish that people don't really realize. And this is the best way to really be heard, is to listen first.
So you started something also called the World Empathy Day every Wednesday. What exactly did that mean?
Oh, that's just something, I read something that if you want to be known, this is a great thing in business too. If you want to be known, and now I'm known worldwide for doing this work, because I send out tips once a week to my email list. And it started with 10 people, now it's a few thousand. And it's something that's been going for about 8 years now. And I just send tips every week. In fact, tomorrow's World Empathy Day, and I just sent a tip out, because I like to be a day ahead because of the different time differences around the world. So that's what Empathy Day is, and it's short little tips. Mm-hmm. And they can go to the website empathyday.com and sign up for that, by the way.
So it's empathyday.com?
Yes.
Awesome. That's great for anyone out there to give them the tips for the week that they need. Now, what are some of the myths you think that our society or people might have surrounding communications in particular?
Oh, gosh. I went to a networking event today, mm-hmm. and I'm just, because my ear infection stuff, I could not hear anybody, so I just listened, and nobody could hear what I was saying because I was talking so low. Mm-hmm. Thought I was talking so loud. Yeah. So I think the first thing is that they all want to sell what they're doing. They want to promote it. And instead of, again, listening to the other person, they all are promoting and selling whatever wares or services that they're doing. And I think that's one myth that we got to change.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, may I tell you. A couple of years ago, I started my own meetup group in Manhattan, a business group, network support group for businesses, and my one rule was no card passing out. You can't hand out business cards. I know it's counterintuitive because you want to hand it out so people know who you are. Yeah. But if you talk to them and get to know them as real people, naturally, at the end of the conversation, can we pick this up over coffee next week at Starbucks, and you make the date right there and then, and you're not handing out these billions of cards that no one ever looks at and end up in the garbage anyway.
True, so true. And so that builds more connection for everybody, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now everyone really knows each other, and instead of going home with 100 cards of people, you can't even place their face to the card.
Right. That's why I have my picture on one of my cards. So, yeah. But anyways, that's great advice, because I have so many cards I have no idea who they are. I should be interviewing you because. But that's one thing, is that I think people are promoting themselves, and that's all you hear. And you leave and you don't know what anybody does, because that's all they do is promote themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. What I do, and some people take offense to this, is if they do hand me their card, I write like a sentence of something we talked about, a subject line, and something about what they say they're most passionate about. Because my big question is not what you do, but what's your biggest passion? What makes you jump out of bed in the morning? Yeah. Everyone will say, oh, I run a radio show, I'm a salesperson, I write books. But sometimes that's not your greatest passion. That's not what makes you super excited to jump out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, I love to hear that passion of other people, what they really, really want to do. Yeah. That's so important, too. That gets them going. That gets their adrenaline going, and wanting to really talk about their whole life and everything that they want to talk about. And that's what I want to do, is find out about different people, find out about their lives, and then I can figure out, can I help service them? Can I provide a service for them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you had mentioned before the interview that our society is really empathy deprived. What exactly does this mean, and how can we reverse this?
Well, I think because we're promoting ourselves, we're not really listening to the other person. Mm-hmm. So if I'm talking and I'm promoting what I do, my services, I'm not really hearing what the other person's doing. I'm just talking to nobody. So nobody's really listening to me or hearing me, because they have their stuff that they want to get out. So nobody's really listened to in this society. So what I'm teaching is how to listen to people and how to hear them, how to understand them, and again, I'll be listened to. That's really the whole idea of this, is for both people to be listened to and heard and understood, and not just go, okay, bye, see you later, and you forget what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're like, what is it again you do? And we started out our conversation talking about the differences of men and women communicating. Men often hear something wrong with their loved one and say, hey, I know the perfect solution. Let me help you fix that. And women often, will just chitter-chatter like I've done in the past with my partner. And either way, we're really not listening to each other. Do you have some good active listening skills that people can start to apply so that they can become better listeners?
Yes, one skill, and it's really, really important what I'm about to say. Mm-hmm. And it's on my website, rickgoodfriend.com. It's a needs, a values list that everybody needs to hang up by their telephone, by their computer. I use it when I email. I use these values in my sentences, and that's what builds the connection with another person. Value might be physical values are air, food, rest, sleep. Mm-hmm. Emotional values are very important, are connection, peace, autonomy, honesty, truth, trust. Those are really important to get into your sentences when you're speaking to another person. And I also ask a question. I ask, oh, it sounds like you're really wanting more trust in your relationship, or you want more honesty when you're listened to and heard. And you want to be maybe understood. I don't say that all at one time. I use one value at a time, and it's a question. I'm not telling them what values they're needing or would be wanting to try to meet. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like guessing. I'm just asking them. Mm-hmm. So is it belonging? Are you want to belonging, or do you want financial sales right now? Is that important to you? Mm-hmm. So I'm asking a question. I'm not telling them. Mm-hmm. So that's what really builds the trust and honesty in connecting with another person, communicating with another person. Mm-hmm. And, it might sound like this is like frivolous, but it really isn't. It's something that really builds trust so quickly, so fast. And I'm getting chills thinking about it because it works. It really, really works.
Wow. This recalls for me, a sales trainer had said that the one big problem with a lot of people doing sales is they blah, 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 as you said, about their product, service, or information without even asking any questions. And it sounds here that what you're talking about, that if you spend more time asking questions, then you might not know what that person wants, but by continuing to ask questions and delving in, and continuing to ask different questions, you'll get answers to what's important to that person, what their desires are, what their wants are, and then see if you're able to really help them or not.
Yes, I'm going to go so deep with that person. They're amazed. They go, I can't believe I talked about this stuff. I don't talk about this to anybody, but you got it out of me somehow. In fact, one guy wanted to kill me one day because I went so deep with him. And it was more of a emotional thing that he was telling me about his life and everything. And we went so deep, and it was amazing. I'm still amazed to think about this, but that's where we go. And what I'm doing is, it's a fluffy word, but I'm providing empathy. Empathy is a deep understanding what another person might be experiencing. To me, it's not feeling the feelings. It can be that. But it's really using these values and finding out really what's going on with the person and understanding where they are. It's not saying they're right. It's not saying they're wrong. I'm just there not judging what's going on, what they're talking about. But I'm listening. I'm understanding them. So that's where the trust is built. And if you're in sales, we're all in sales somewhere or another. That's what we want to build, is trust, and real trust, not just fake stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard from someone, and I think it has to also come from a certain place inside of you, as you just mentioned. You have to come from honesty and truth as major value system, because I've heard that humans in general want to tell. If you ask questions, people want to answer them. They naturally are very interested to tell people things when you ask questions, but it's where you come from. If you're just asking questions and they can hear behind the words that there's really no sentiment of, I care about you, you're probably going to turn them off, I'm guessing.
Yeah. It's just like, it's a no-win situation. Mm-hmm. Both people are going to leave, and even if I lie or something, I'm going to feel that for months and months and months. It's just going to stay with me. And I don't want to get into the universe and everything, but some reason the universe just takes care of me. Either way, if I'm honest and I'm truthful, it's going to take care of me. If I'm not, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think someone had just told me today that if everyone in the planet just were to give from a true heart of giving, like not with expecting anything in return, there probably wouldn't be any need on the entire planet if we were all coming from that space anyway. It's really that when we all kind of hoard or think there's not enough and take, that we end up having difficulties and struggles and not enoughness looking, around the planet and such. But we had talked before the interview that there's some actual ways in our everyday conversation that actually disconnects one another from each other. What are some of the ways or common language that people use that kind of disconnect us from each other?
I think that when I tell a story about myself, that's going to disconnect us very, very quickly. If you're saying something, I go, oh, that reminds me of a story when I was, went to this restaurant, blah, blah, blah. And that just disconnects us. Because, again, I want to focus on the other person. I want to put that focus on them and phase into them until, they might feel maybe uncomfortable that you're talking so much, or maybe they're enjoying it. Sometimes I've done sessions with people for 3 hours where they just keep going and going and going because they're empathy deprived. They haven't been listened to in ever. I mean, my mom hung up on me once because I told her, she was talking about the city council, and she's from Miami Beach. And she says, yeah, at city council, they don't listen to me. I write them. I talk to them. I talk to the mayor. And I get no satisfaction. So I was trying to fix her. I said, well, Mom, you know what? And then all of a sudden I remembered these skills I was just learning. And I said, it must be frustrating for you because you really want to be understood. And I heard nothing on the other side. All of a sudden I heard a click. She hung up on me.
Wow.
I called her back and go, Mom, what happened? Are you okay? She goes, yeah, I had nothing else to say. so I hung up on you. I go, oh my gosh, this stuff works.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it was Oprah that said a long time ago, I heard her say, the one thing that people truly want more than anything else is just to be heard. And I think that's what you're getting at when you say empathy. People just want to be heard, whatever their story or feelings are, that someone else hears them.
And it doesn't take that much time either. It might take a little bit more time than promoting myself, but to listen to somebody, it just takes, 5-10 minutes, well, maybe 3 hours, but but really it doesn't take that much because it's such a weird subject for somebody to be understood that they're just surprised.
Yeah.
It's just something that we need to start listening to the other person, whether it's professional, whether it's an individual relationship. It's just something that we have to start doing here.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Now, when you were talking before about expressing and communicating with more honesty and that can bring you closer to other people, what are some ways that, people who are not familiar with this form of communicating and really paying attention to actual communication, what are some steps that people can take today to start building their communication skills?
Well, again, they need to get that list of values, whether they go on the internet and just put values up, and there's a lot of lists all over the place.
Okay.
And they just put that up and start using those words, in sentences. I mean, they feel powerful, and the other person feels powerful hearing these words. I mean, I got a parking ticket at the university here, and I amended the parking ticket, and I wrote to whoever listened to me or was reading it, and I put these words in. I go, yes, I guess for safety, it was important to make sure that my car was paying the money to the university or whatever, and I said, and I appreciate the presence of the officer. He gave me a ticket because, it's important for him to make sure that we're all safe and that I'm parking in the right spot. Anyways, I get a letter back saying, "Thank you, your ticket is gone, and we took care of it. We'll give you just next time don't do it again." And that was it. So I connected with them, even though it was a letter.
So I'm guessing, not just taking the word, but really taking the words and values you mentioned, like trust or understanding or peace, and really framing it in such a way that you are really trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand where they're coming from. In the case of the police officer, I understand why you gave me this ticket. You weren't trying to be a bully and just give me a ticket so you can make money. You're doing it because you're trying to keep the city safe and keep my car safe, and there's a reason why this has happened, and I thank you for that. Is that correct? Am I understanding it correctly?
In a way, I'm like expressing myself and my needs, my values in the letter, and just saying, "Oh yeah, you were wanting safety, but it's also I was also wanting safety and to be seen and heard, which that's happening right now, that you're understanding where I'm really coming from but I don't say by using these values, but by using the way that I'm talking right now." So
basically you get to understand where they're coming from, but at the same time say, this is where I'm coming from, but from a place of non-judgment as well.
Yes, that's how we say no, is we empathize with the other person. We never say no in these skills, but we empathize with the other person, saying, "Yeah, I'm seeing that you're wanting safety right now, yet right now I'm wanting to be understood for what's going on." So understanding is the other value. So in a way I'm saying, no, that's not the way it is, but I'm using these values instead. I'm using it's another language in English, but it's a whole different new language that I'm teaching.
I was going to say, for anyone out there who wants to get deeper into this and really understand how to use these values and the list that you mentioned, how can they get in touch with you and find out more about you and work with you?
I think the best way is just go to my website, rickgoodfriend.com, and all my information's there. And there's the values list there. There's how to do these skills. That's listed there too. And you can call me or email me, but I just really appreciate being on your show today, because I enjoyed the questions and how fast it went, and also your honesty and your trust, and I really appreciate that too.
Well, thank you, Rick. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom today. Before we head on out, share with our audience where you plan on heading in the next year. What's new for your business? What's new for your coming teachings?
Well, I'm really on fire right now because I was very sick, and now I'm healed. I'm okay. I'm great. And I'm just on fire. I'm doing a workshop on meeting your own boundaries without fear. So I'm doing a workshop probably around the country doing that, just saying what's on your mind and being honest and saying it and being honest and truthful. And then what you say when you do express yourself is say, "What do you think about what I just said?" Or "How do you feel about what I just said?" So after you express yourself, that's the great question to come back with. How do you feel about what I just said? So that's pretty amazing too.
Yeah. And I'm guessing, say there's an inflammatory situation and someone's angry, if you don't express, I've heard this said, don't express it with "you did this and you did that," but instead saying, "I feel unheard, I feel blah, blah, blah. How do you feel about that?" And then that gives them a chance not to feel defensive and say, "Okay, here's how I'm taking this situation."
Yeah. In fact, there was an argument in a hotel I was at, and I got in the middle of it, and I gave both people empathy and got them both to be heard and listened to. And then the solution just came right out. It took 5 seconds for a solution, and they were both happy, and this took like 10 minutes to deal with. So it was pretty cool. I was a mediator. I am a mediator. but that's how powerful these skills are.
Yeah, and they're needed for everything, not just in our businesses, but for our family and friends, and just make life a lot better as we understand to have empathy for each other. So I want to thank you again, Rick, for coming out to Savvy. And everyone, please go to rickgoodfriend.com, find out more about Rick and everything he has to offer, his books and his upcoming courses. And Rick, before we head on out, is there any last parting words you'd like to leave with our audience?
Just what I started with. Just listen a little bit more, a little bit longer, so you're really going to be heard.
Fabulous. Well, thank you again, Rick, for coming to Savvy Central Radio.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate being with you today. Thank you.
Me too.
Savvy Central Radio is home to over 100,000 listeners per month globally and runs in syndication on 8 AM and FM platforms, including iHeartRadio and 6 podcasting platforms. To find out more about our paid sponsorship opportunities or to become a guest and find out how we can help you get your message out to the world, call 718 area code 713-2289 or email at savvycentralradio@gmail.com.